Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. Today is Fri-Yay. It is December 9th, 2022. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup. As you can see, I am back home, made it safely, no travel issues. Although I have to say, I don't know that they could have set me up with flights on a greater distance across the Philadelphia airport. I felt like I was walking forever. Despite having a long enough layover, they had started boarding before I got there, which was interesting. But I had used up some points for American, so I was flying first class on the way back. That was cool. Flying is a much better experience than first class. Like it's a completely different experience, but it's also what it should be. Now, maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe the seats don't have to be that big, but they could be that comfortable. Maybe they don't have to give you practically individualized attention and remember your name, but they're always kind. Kind of wish they did that. And who is here? I want to say good morning to Brian, Nathan, Left Leg Jay, Stacy, Jenny. Hope you're all well. Lilith says hi. Well, thank you. Brian says, nice to see you home. It's nice to be home. Brian says, I can't stay long this morning, or if I do, I'll keep it low volume. Ha! Love it. If you can't tell, the nearly inevitable has happened. I have contracted some manner of illness. Being in that close proximity to 1,000 people from all over the world for a week with massive sleep deprivation. Yeah, I knew it was going to happen. I was taking Airborne every day. I actually brought Airborne in my water bottle, forgot to drink it before I got to the airport. So I lost my water bottle at the airport. Fortunately, it was $8. I wasn't going back through security again and dealing with it. But here's the irony. After I said, no, you can throw it away, I got turned around and actually did have to go back through security again in West Palm. So that was fun. Stacy says, you sound like you got rest. 8.5 hours, which seems, it's like double what I've been getting. I am still so sleep deprived. I'm probably going back to bed for another 90 minutes or so. The only thing on my calendar today, I thought I'd schedule it for next week. Apparently I didn't. One of the local solar companies is coming to do a site inspection for battery backups because there's a really good interest rate on them. And well, if the power goes out, it would be nice to not have to go without. So the idea of paying $25 a week to have batteries is worth it to me because that's really all it's going to end up being. I am happy to when I got up this morning. That's how quiet it is here. You get normalized to what you have around you, right? The people, the sounds, the whatever, everything, whatever we have in front of us is what we generally accept as what should be happening, and something, out of the norm is noticeable. I had not noticed how quiet it was here. I got up, and before I got going with anything, the furnace had shut off. And so I was standing there, and there was just no sounds. There were no cars on the road. I wasn't doing anything noisy. And I just stood there for about 5 minutes and just really enjoyed the sound of nothing. The sound of silence. I wonder if any of you do that. Do you go away and come back and find things about your home that you appreciate more than when you're there? I think I need to spend more time in the quiet because it's something that I don't get to have very many places. And if I don't do it at home, where am I going to do it? Stacy says, thank you for that earworm. You're welcome. What's going on today? So I told you pretty much all that's going on today. I think other than that, I'm just going to hang out, put the house back together, do some laundry, go back to bed. I'm realizing this is set really, really. Oh, let's fix that. And I'm having a little bit of a post-free training day experience as well. Those of you who've been to free training day, especially multiple years, you know how special it can be being around that many like-minded people. And if you don't have very many of those people in your life, a couple days later, you're going, huh, when's the next one? I have to wait how long? Okay. Well, that's kind of how I felt when I got on the plane. Imagine you spent a week with martial artists, working on martial arts, doing nothing but martial arts, kind of the all-in weekend vibe. But imagine it was a week longer. And imagine it was more intensive and people are sleeping less and they're just, you end up at this point where there are a variety of things assumed. And then you disconnect from that and find, I can't do that. For example, at this event, people would just hug people. They would just walk up and just hug them. Nobody minded. In fact, everybody welcomed it. It was nice. So it is Fri-Yay. We've got some jokes. Frank has some more quotes for us. And what am I doing this weekend? Sleeping? I think sleeping. Craig is teaching at Andrew's event tomorrow in Keene, New Hampshire. If I wasn't feeling ill, I would likely go. But my expectation is that it would be unwise. See, that's another thing. Phrasing things that way. I'm probably going to talk weird for a while because there were all these parameters in various conversations we had. My expectation. My hallucination is some odd word. Oh, see, that's funny. So when I said the sound of silence, Stacy says, cues up disturb sound of silence. I wasn't sure when you said earworm if you were going for that one or the Simon and Garfunkel one. I like both. I think both are absolutely wonderful. They stand on their own, as opposed to Toto and Weezer's Africa, which are nearly the same song. I like the Weezer one a tiny bit better. So what am I going to do this weekend? I have no idea. I know I have to water some plants because they're quite unhappy because it's been 9 days since I watered them. And there are a few other things. I lost a battery backup while I was gone. There's just some stuff I have to do. So I'm going to do those things. Let's dive in. Let's do it. Frank sent us over some quotes. We're finishing up, let's call it Tony Robbins week, because that's what it's been for me. Thank you as always to Frank for all of your wonderful hard work. No, that's not the one. No, I want this one. And thank you to Josh for our theme song. And thank you to what I keep referring to as person number 3 for the audio. Stacey agrees with me. 2 very different versions of Sound of Silence. And yes, I like them both. All right. The best way to deal with procrastination is to postpone it. I like that. I like that idea. Procrastination, I think, says something to us, about what's important. If something is absolutely important, if it checks the boxes of your why and your how, and you feel confident doing it, if it checks all the boxes, If it's the most important things that you have in your life, you'll do it. You won't procrastinate on it. If it's something that you think you should do, or someone else wants you to do, or they're expecting you to do, if it's not the most important stuff in your life, you need some additional motivation, whether that's money or threats or whatever it is. So I would challenge you, I would encourage you, the next time you feel it, procrastination, the next time you're looking at something saying, I don't really want to do this, why don't you? And why do you feel you have to? Now, that doesn't suggest that everything in our life is stuff that we have to do. I'm not going to procrastinate watering the plants. I love my plants, but I don't love watering my plants. It's not the most enjoyable thing in my day. I'm not passionate about it, but it's something I'm willing to do because I'm passionate about having the plants around. And it's a necessary consequence, otherwise they die. Or I suppose I could hire someone to water my plants, but that is silly at this point. If I had $1 billion, I probably would do that, because the value of the half hour a week, I'd probably have well, let's face it, if I was a billionaire, I'd have a larger house. And there would be more plants, and it would make sense to hire some kind of gardener. Indoor gardener? Is that a title? There's a time in my life I would have enjoyed that job, indoor gardener, and free up time for these other things. One of the major things that came out of this week when it comes to Whistlekick is I am going to go on a tirade, offloading as much as I can from my plate, so I can bring new things onto my plate that move us forward. So there you go. Oh, interesting. Left Leg J says, funny, when you said Sound of Silence, I thought about Depeche Mode, Enjoy the Silence. This tells you I am old. I don't think I know that song. There was a singer at the event. I'm not going to give you their name. It was someone that you may not know by name, but many of you would know some of the songs. Definitely, like a Billboard charting artist. It was a he, I'll tell you that much. He was not in my group, but learned he was in somebody else's group. Not someone I would ever recognize. I mean, I wouldn't recognize most singers. Probably wouldn't even recognize their voices unless they broke into song. Next. The one thing that separates winners from losers is winners take action. What is it that stops us from taking action? If you've been to any of the seminars I've taught, you've probably heard me talk about it. Fear gets in our way. Fear is the thing that limits everything. And if you have two choices. I guess three choices. The first choice is you let fear consume you and you don't take action. And then the thing that you want to do, need to do, should do, are expected to do, have to do, whatever, doesn't happen. And you remain where you are. You can try to remove the fear, which sometimes that works, depends on who you are and what you're doing. Or you can say, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. And it's that last one that I think is a better habit to develop. There are plenty of things I've done that terrify me. Going to this event terrified me. It is one of the best things I've ever done. Like top 5. Maybe higher. I don't know yet. There's so much mental digestion that still has to happen. But if you know me personally, if you know me professionally, I'm willing to charge into most fears. And after this week, I think my tolerance for charging into fear, or that's not the right word, my embracement of fear has grown. Because if you're afraid, other people are probably afraid. And that means you're going to be in a different group, a higher functioning group, a group who is willing to charge forward and make things happen. It's nice. didn't do jokes. We're going to end with jokes. I'm out of routine here. And then our last one, every problem is a gift. Without problems, we would not grow. Without problems, we would not grow. I think we get bogged down in the fact that problems happen to us. It's external influences. Most of us don't create problems for ourselves. I mean, we do, but those aren't the ones that we generally feel upset about. And even when we do, most of us blame other people for the problems we create. But there's always something to learn. How does that apply to martial arts? The simplest example, getting punched in the face could be considered a problem. Sparring a higher ranked student could be considered a problem. Struggling to learn a form or execute a certain technique. What if you're in a school where for a certain rank, you are expected to perform a certain technique or a certain technique, maybe at a certain height, and you struggle to do that? Well, if it's really important to you, and if your instructor holds you to that standard, which not everyone does, but let's pretend they do, you've got to work on your balance, you've got to work on your flexibility, you've got to get there. That's not a problem, ultimately. You're presented with a problem, but the solution ends up benefiting you in a lot of other ways. If you have trouble doing a roundhouse kick to the head, once you can do a roundhouse kick to the head, you are more flexible overall. It's not just for that one kick. There are other movement pathways that are more flexible now. That's a good thing. So when we see problems, especially if it's a problem that creates procrastination, maybe a good first step is to look for what would the benefit be of solving that problem. And not just the obvious one. Well, if I can get my roundhouse kick to the head, I can move on to the new rank. Okay, but what else? What other benefits might you derive? You'd have more versatility in your sparring. You'd have more overall flexibility, which reduces your risk of injury. You'd probably feel a lot of pride in being able to do that, right? So there's 5 things. The more you can connect the effort with positive results, the less you're going to procrastinate on it. If somebody was going to pay me $1 million after I watered my plants, the show would have already ended. If, I don't know, what's another, well, you get the point. It's a ridiculous example, but you get the point. If you focus on what you get from solving problems, you're not going to see problems as problems. They're educational experiences, especially the ones with other people. Most of us feel unconfident working with other people, understanding other people, at least to a certain degree. And if you take interpersonal challenges as a way to better your skills in that way, it's a pretty good opportunity, pretty good benefit coming out of that. Right? Oh, the other thing I got to do today, I got to send out sparring because we have there was 2 more orders in the last 24 hours. I think a lot of people are giving sparring gear as gifts. That's pretty cool. I'm honored they're choosing us. All right. Here are the jokes. The jokes for Fun Day Friday. Today is National Pastry Day. So HBO is making a drama about relatives conspiring against each other to take control of the family pastry company. It's going to be called Game of Scones. What kind of pastry do you need at the source to eat? Synonym rolls. I know people who pronounce cinnamon funny, kind of like that. Synonym rolls. My sister is an expert pastry maker. She has to be to stay employed. Her job has a high turnover rate. Why did the captain execute the pastry chef? Because his orders were to shoot all deserters. Why am I scared of French pastry chefs? French pastry chefs, they give me the crepes. That sounds like a Scottish guy saying crepes. The crepes. Because in French, isn't it more like crepes? Yeah. But that sounds funny. There was a French woman in our group. She sounded funny, but she was very nice. Not like funny bad, just she had a French accent. There's a huge international crowd there. It was kind of insane. And a huge percentage of the folks living in America that were there were second generation immigrants, which blew my mind. We don't have much of that around here. I don't know very many people, but in my group, I would say half of them were either immigrants themselves, lived abroad, or second generation. Yeah. I'm just kind of running through. Did you hear about the guy who broke 17 world records while sitting on a pastry? He's on a roll. What's a lawyer's favorite pastry? Suet. I didn't know suet was a pastry. To me, suet is the stuff you put on a bird feeder. It's like lard with rolled in birdseed. What do you call a deep thinking pastry chef? A philosopher. No, philosopher. That's how you call it. Okay. 1, 2, 3. What do you call a deep thinking pastry chef? A philosopher. What do you get if you bake weed into an apple pastry? A high turnover. There are companies who have done stuff like that. I haven't had any of them, but I've heard it exists. Although you got people who make like cookies and brownies out of stuff. So I guess you could use it and do the same thing. An old Jedi Master named Ben stole Luke Skywalker's last pastry. Angrily, Luke shouted after him as he ran away, "Hey, you owe me one cannoli." That's hysterical. I like that one a lot. What does the apathetic pastry chef say? I do not care. Why shouldn't you fall in love with a pastry chef? He'll desert you. Which pastry is the most religious? The donut. Its holiness cannot be denied. Did you hear about the Brit who had developed a pastry addiction? He became a total sconer. What do you call a really small computer file full of pastry recipes? Little bites. I was terrified to eat the pastry. Turns out, it's a piece of cake. Those are great. Thank you, Frank. I appreciate those. Apologies for reading some of those so poorly, but Obi-Wan cannoli. That's great. What made it great was I was just reading along and I got it, but it was almost like I was hearing it for the first time as well. I was hearing it for the first time. Bryce says cannoli. Stacy says the cannoli joke was perfect. That was a top-notch joke, Frank. Well done. All right, everybody. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go back to bed for a little while. And that's probably what I'm going to do most of today is sleep. So I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope to see you back here on Monday. And 2 reminders. 1, All-In Weekend makes a great gift. You will get a digital certificate if you want to give it as a gift for Christmas. So it's a great last-minute gift. And if you purchase anything on whistlekick.com and you see a better deal on it later, you just have to let me know. And I will give you a refund of that difference. There we are. Alrighty. Take care. Be well. I miss being here. I miss doing this show from here. Thanks for showing up. Take care, everybody. Peace.